This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 9th day of February in the year 2022. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The Chinese embassy here in Guyana has rubbished claims that some Chinese companies have been paying bribes to acquire large contracts in Guyana. During an interview with international media Vice News, the allegation of Chinese companies paying bribes in this country was put to the Vice President Jagdeo, who the journalist conducting the interview claimed is an alleged recipient of such bribes, according to a Chinese businessman and lobbyist. Mr. Jagdeo has refuted the allegations and denied them altogether. The Chinese embassy here in Guyana has now added its voice to the issue, claiming that the Vice News reporter who came to Guyana came with a premeditated agenda and tried to smear and attack China-Guyana cooperation as well as Chinese companies. The Chinese embassy said it is dissatisfied with and firmly opposes the violation of professional ethics by the reporter and maintained that Guyana-China relations remain firm. All of China's media are state-run and controlled. The Chinese embassy said that it highly appreciates that the government of Guyana upholds the One China principle and keeps developing cordial relations with China, adding that China-Guyana friendly cooperation featuring equality, mutual benefit, innovation, openness, and benefits for the people is in accordance with the interests of the two countries and two peoples, not against any third party, nor should be influenced by any third party. As it relates to Chinese companies operating here in Guyana, the embassy said from all accounts those companies are operating above board, and the reporter's account of events might not be accurate. According to the Chinese embassy, Chinese companies operating in Guyana are following the local laws, international practices, and market rules, and they are participating in big projects through open and fair competitions, which is beyond reproach. Guyana and China have shared diplomatic relations for over 50 years, and Chinese businesses have been major investors in the country. More news coming up in just a moment.
How fast is fiber? Think fast. GTT Fiber has 3 packages with download speeds of 50, 100, and 150 megabits per second. That's fast enough to stream movies and music, to chat with Gran and Fran, to study, and more. What would you do? Upgrade to GTT Fiber today and don't get left behind tomorrow.
Guyana's 2022 International Energy Conference and Expo, under the theme Charting a Sustainable Energy Future, will be hosted at the Guyana Marriott from the 15th to the 18th of February 2022. Meet and engage with energy leaders from around the world. The conference will feature addresses from His Excellency President Irfan Ali, His Excellency Vice President Jagdeo, Honorable Prime Minister Mark Phillips, His Excellency Chandraka Prasad Santoki, Honorable Prime Minister Mia Motley, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, and many other highly esteemed speakers. Charting a Sustainable Energy Future, Guyana's 2022 International Energy Conference and Expo. Are you a low-income Guyanese? Are you living in a poor structure? Then apply now for Core Home Support. Visit www.chpa.gov.gy for more information on how to apply.
Miss Smash Queen Guyana 2022 National Pride Costume Competition and Coronation. Sunday, February 20th at 1900 hours at the Ramada Georgetown Princess Hotel. Come, witness our 6 ambassadors vie for the crown as we mash down, mask up, and make melody.
People may forget the present you bought for them, but they'll never forget your scent. Find your signature fragrance at Elite Fragrances and Trade-In, located at 123 Region Road Border between Ornock Street and Shiv Chandapal Drive. Call 619-5151 or 227-1255. Get a designer fragrance for yourself or loved one that they will never forget.
Combo pack up, we feeling best. Sunshine stacks above the rest. No contest is the best mix, so we feeling best. Best value to how you're feeling. All the cheese is too much triple Sunshine Snacks Combo Pack. Now with a new look and new mix. Grab your pack today. Best mix, so we're feeling best.
Give me one Dembake for my whole family. Their bread is tasty. Dembake bakery.
Baked with love and passion by our dedicated team of fine bakers, we give you Dembake. With the same great quality you're used to, we now have a slightly new look. Here in Land of Canaan, we are ready to give you even more. Don't wait until you're hungry. Reach for a slice of Dembake.
Dembake, Dembake, oh.
Dembake, healthy, wholesome living.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Busta are now only $100. Busta, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Busta, Busta $100. Come get your Busta, Busta $100.
Welcome back. Vice President Jagdeo continues to deny allegations that he has been accepting bribes from Chinese businessmen in order for them to land big contracts in Guyana. The allegations first surfaced in an interview with a US-based Vice News agency. A video recording of the Vice News interview was released by the Vice President's office on Monday afternoon. It was during the interview that the reporter related the allegations, which she said had been made by a Chinese businessman and lobbyist who was a close friend of the Vice President and who rents one of his properties. Stunned by the allegations, Mr. Jagdeo admitted to knowing the Chinese businessman, but repeatedly denied the allegations of bribe-taking. Last night, the Vice President called a press conference to again deny the allegations.
My source of income, my earnings are accounted for, whether it comes from my government pension or income from rental. The contracts are with the bank so that they can see the source of my earning. Similarly to all the assets I've acquired, they have been done through the banking system. So you can trace every asset that I've acquired back to the banking system.
And the Vice President also clarified that he has no foreign bank accounts. Mr. Jagdeo has accused the US media entity of attempting to drag Guyana into the economic spat currently taking place between the US and China, and therefore attempting to portray Guyana and its leaders as pro-China and corrupt. But in the interview with a US journalist, details of the allegations were put to the Vice President. The journalist claimed that a news agency was informed by the Chinese businessman Mr. Su Jerome that the only way to get business done in Guyana was to pay a bribe, and that the Vice President was among those who accepted bribes from Chinese investors. But the Vice President said even Mr. Su has told him that he never made such claims.
I'm not putting my head, because if he says that to someone, that's his business. But if I discover that he's doing that, then he will, even if he asks me to see somebody, I'll never see them again.
Mr. Jagdeo said he has an open door policy, but it is never about bribes for him, but to help people. He said if the opposition wishes, it can take the allegations to the police for an investigation to be done.
But as far as I'm concerned, it's a wild allegation. I'm not paying too much heed to it because it has no substance whatsoever.
The Vice President continues to push back and deny the allegations, saying that his assets match his earnings and have been filed with the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission has not been reconstituted since the PPCV got back to power in 2020. The leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Aubrey Norton, has called for a full probe of the allegations. He said while he does not believe any such probe will take place, he is not surprised by the allegations leveled against the Vice President, and is also not surprised by the Vice President's denial. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat has assured that the government will begin auditing the costs incurred by ExxonMobil from 2018 to 2020 in the Stabroek Block this year. He said the government has set aside $10.7 million in the budget to conduct the audits, which will be done in phases. Barrett told the National Assembly's Committee of Supply that the government is committed to doing the audits, but prefers local audit firms conduct the audits. He told the committee that part of the delay to have the second cost recovery commence was a result of local capacity building.
To date, we have put together, not we, but we have worked with a local consortium to put together 4 leading firms in Guyana have come together to form themselves into that consortium, and they now will work with an identified international company, and we have ensured that in that TOR, the international company fully knows that it is a transfer of knowledge process. It is a training process. So it's not only doing the audit or conducting the audit, but it is also training or building capacity in our local auditors in Guyana.
In 2019, the coalition government had contracted a British firm to conduct the audit of ExxonMobil's pre-contract costs, which amounted to $460 million for the period 1999 to 2017. And that audit has not yet been completed. The PP Civic government had initially poured hot oil on the question of auditing Exxon's post-2017 expenses, with the vice president saying last year that the government was not able to select a strong local group to undertake it. Now bombarded with criticism over its slow pace to have the audits done, the Natural Resources Minister is now assuring that the audits will be completed.
I want to assure all Guyana that we are committed to ensuring that we conduct the audit of the starboard block to complete from 2017, and to also complete 2018 to 2020, and then move into the other years. And as well, to conduct the audits for the other remaining 7 blocks, the Quarantine, the Kanji, the Kaichor, the Orinduk, the Kunuku, to conduct the audits of exploration in those blocks as well too, because based on the work program that we have seen from the oil companies, and we've been working with them almost on a daily basis, the work program indicates that we will have significant exploration activities over the next 2 to 3 years. So at some point in time, we need to start auditing those operators as well, besides from just the starboard block and ExxonMobil.
Meanwhile, the government has also set aside funds to hire a law firm to provide regulations for a model petroleum sharing agreement, which will form the basis for the signing of future agreements with oil companies. Local fashion photographer and video producer Kieron Bruce has filed a $101 million lawsuit against social media commentator Mickey Rodriguez, who is known as the Guyanese critic. Mr. Rodriguez was served with the court documents this morning. In the lawsuit, Mr. Bruce is claiming that Rodriguez has degraded his character in social media commentaries about the ongoing investigations into statements made by a social media cartoon character, Mr. Mudwater. Just over a week ago, Bruce was held by the police for questioning about the Mudwater character, amid allegations that he is the person behind the character. He has denied the allegations and has not been charged with any crime. In the lawsuit, he indicated that Rodriguez has been using his social media platform to make several false statements and allegations against him. In their filing, Kieron Bruce's attorneys Anastasia Stanford and Tamika Clark noted that during the 29th of January and the 7th of February, Rodriguez made several remarks which have seriously defamed the character of Kieron Bruce. According to the lawyers and Bruce, on one of his Guyanese critic programs, Rodriguez claimed that he met Bruce some time back and discussed the birth of the Mudwater character with him as he was preparing to launch the Guyanese critic. Mr. Bruce and his lawyers contend that the statement is false, since the two have never met, and Bruce was never part of any meeting with Rodriguez. The lawsuit also points to a claim by Rodriguez that the police had arrested the right person, who is Mudwater, when Bruce was held for questioning. The fashion photographer is also challenging statements made by Rodriguez that linked him to social media attacks on Miss World contestants. The lawsuit noted that the statements have resulted in Bruce coming under immense criticism, embarrassment, and ridicule over attacks not made by him. He said his reputation as a fashion photographer has been ruined, and his family has also been made to suffer the embarrassment caused by the claims. Mr. Bruce is seeking a public apology from Rodriguez, along with a court order restraining him from repeating the allegations. He's also seeking damages for libel in the amount of no less than $50 million and another $50 million for aggravated and exemplary damages, along with an additional $1 million for special damages. Well, as Guyana continues to see more investment interests from abroad, the British High Commissioner to Guyana, Jane Miller, believes there should be greater transparency in the tendering process for contracts as the country develops and attracts international investors. During a press conference hosted by the British High Commission today, the High Commissioner related that as Guyana continues to grow, especially due to the oil and gas sector, there is a great need for the strengthening of the procurement process. In the past few days, a number of British investors and businessmen were in Guyana as part of an investment push.
But it's an area that skills do need to be developed. This country is growing incredibly fast. The resources are gigantic, and as you say, transparency is so important. So it's an area that I think capability does still need strengthening, but there is some capability, and I definitely know it's on the mind of the government at the moment.
High Commissioner Miller said the British government, through its High Commission here, will be looking to see fair competition when it comes to the bidding for big projects, noting that it is an issue that the Commission will continue to raise with the government.
So it's something that we'll keep an eye on. I think it's an important issue that you raise, and it will be something I will keep raising with government.
Since Guyana started oil production just over a year ago, the country has seen hundreds of investors and international businesses rushing to its shores, seeking out investment opportunities as the country prepares for infrastructural growth and development. There continues to be calls from interest groups for greater oversight of the procurement process in the country. The Public Procurement Commission is still to be reconstituted, although the process to get it working again has started. The president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, Timothy Tucker, during the press conference today with the British High Commissioner, said the laws of Guyana have mechanisms in place to address concerns by bidders who believe they might have been sidelined wrongfully or cheated out of contracts.
There is a mechanism in place for any member, any company that is bidding for a contract. If they think or they believe that they have not been fairly evaluated, adjudicated, or there's a company that is getting a contract through any means, they have the mechanism that you can object, you can take it to court. We've seen it being used many times before in the past.
Guyana is currently preparing to host a major oil and gas international conference next week. That event has already caught the attention of several international investors who have been eyeing Guyana and its prospects, according to the organizers. Police blotter, a Wortmanville family, has been thrown into mourning following the stabbing death of 30-year-old vendor Aubrey Beard of Hardina Street, Wortmanville. Beard was stabbed to death last evening by a man believed to be mentally unstable. Eyewitnesses said the incident occurred just after 9 o'clock last night. They explained that the two men were involved in an argument when the suspect was punched to the face by the vendor. The suspect reportedly hopped on his bicycle after being punched and was riding away from the scene when other persons in the area encouraged him to properly represent himself. The man, who has been identified as Brian Matheson, reportedly returned to the scene and confronted Beard over punching him. He was then seen whipping out a knife and stabbing Beard to the chest in the region of his heart. Beard collapsed at the scene and was pronounced dead at the city hospital. The suspect, Brian Matheson, was attacked and beaten by residents of the area after the stabbing incident. He was later taken into custody by the police. The dead man's wife said she was at home when she heard a commotion outside the house, and after learning that her husband was involved, she rushed to the scene, only to see his lifeless body.
For sure what happened, because it was upstairs, he was downstairs lying with his friend, and I don't know where he talking between he and the gentleman that killed him. But I hid upstairs and I hear somebody hollering, Aubrey get joke, he get joke. And like he stabbed me multiple times when we carry the hospital. They say he couldn't make it because he was too critical. So
the grieving widow said her husband was a hard worker who loved his family, especially his children. She added that she will find it difficult to move on and pick up the pieces without him.
Aubrey works. He been working from the age of 10, I won't lie. He didn't have an easy background going on. No mother, no father for support, so he had to start working early. Till today, like today, the age of 40. So, as a father, the best father they ever had. He left behind 3 kids.
The suspect is expected to face the court in the coming days. Still on the police blotter, less than 24 hours after a daring robbery on Kroll Street was caught on camera, the 2 men who were identified as the suspects were arrested. A 33-year-old businessman was walking along the pavement on Kroll Street yesterday, close to the bus park, when he was choked and robbed by the 2 men, who approached him from 2 opposite directions. The man was relieved of a quantity of cash and his cell phone. He became unconscious after the robbery as the robbers made their escape. The entire incident was caught on the nearby CCTV cameras of a business place, and investigators were able to use the footage to identify the suspects and launch a search for them. At around 1 o'clock this morning, one of the men was arrested in Tugville, while the other was arrested in Kitty. One of the suspects was found with the robbery victim's phone in his possession. The 2 will face the courts this week for charges.
Are you a low-income Guyanese? Are you living in a poor structure? Then apply now for Core Home Support. Visit www.chpa.gov.gy for more information on how to apply.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped light. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
This is Mocha. Miss Smash Queen Guyana 2022. National Pride Costume Competition and Coronation. Sunday, February 20th at 1900 hours at the Ramada Georgetown Princess Hotel. Come, witness our 6 ambassadors vie for the crown as we mash down, mask up, and make melody.
Guyana's 2022 International Energy Conference and Expo under the theme Charting a Sustainable Energy Future will be hosted at the Guyana Marriott from the 15th to the 18th of February 2022. Meet and engage with energy leaders from around the world. The conference will feature addresses from His Excellency President Irfan Ali, His Excellency Vice President Bharat Jagdeo, Honorable Prime Minister Mark Phillips, His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santoki, Honorable Prime Minister Mia Motley, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, and many other highly esteemed speakers. Charting a Sustainable Energy Future, Guyana's 2022 International Energy Conference and Expo.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Busta are now only $100. Busta, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Busta, Busta $100. Come get your Busta, Busta $100. Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up, protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guyoil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyoil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, at least 14 people were killed and 35 injured after a landslide covered several homes in central Colombia yesterday. That's according to the country's disaster management agency. The agency said authorities were forced to evacuate dozens of persons as the Utun River overflowed. Landslides are common in Colombia due to the mountainous terrain, frequent heavy rains, and poor or informal construction of houses. The country's most recent large landslide disaster was in the city of Macau in 2017 when over 320 people were killed. Thousands of Argentines marched through the streets of Buenos Aires yesterday to protest against a likely deal with the International Monetary Fund to revamp more than $40 billion of debt that the country cannot pay back. The protesters paraded through the capital with banners saying no to paying the IMF and no to an IMF deal, a sign of rising tension in the South American nation over the tentative agreement struck late last month. Argentina and the IMF announced a breakthrough in talks in late January to revamp a failed 2018 loan, which would see debt payments pushed back but involve pledges to meet certain economic targets agreed with the lender. Last week, the IMF chief said that while an agreement had been reached in principle with Argentina on a new standby loan, hard work still lay ahead. And finally tonight, international news. All remaining COVID restrictions in England, including the legal rule to self-isolate, could end later this month, the British Prime Minister has announced. Under the current rules, anyone who tests positive must self-isolate for at least 5 full days. The current restrictions are due to expire on the 24th of March. But the Prime Minister told members of Parliament that he expected the last domestic rules would end early as long as the positive trends in the data continued. He said he intended to return after the parliamentary recess, which runs from Thursday to the 21st of February, to outline the government's strategy for living with COVID-19. He also said that provided that the current encouraging trends in the data continue, it is his expectation that they'll be able to end the last domestic restrictions. The law will be replaced with guidance, Downing Street said, and for example, people will be urged not to go to work if they have COVID. Back in January, Mr. Johnson said he expected the restrictions would end for good when they expired on the 24th of March and hinted that they could be abolished even sooner. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.